Welcome to the Witch Weekly editorial, where we go beneath the surface of the wondrous world of Harry Potter and try to get underneath the headlines, the assumptions, and the parts of the story people think they already know.
I'm Rita.
And I'm Betty.
And we're so thrilled to have you join our weekly broadcast.
And today we are doing part 2 of our deep dive into the chosen one himself, Mr. Harry Potter, because as we said last week, we had a whole lot to talk about, and today we are going to get into all of the developments between books Order of the Phoenix through until the end of the Deathly Hallows. There was a lot to talk about. We could not do it in one go, so we hope that this is a better use of everybody's time.
Yeah, and it's a good way to delineate the books and the story itself, because you've got a pre-Voldemort and a post-Voldemort break in the story, and it certainly shapes a lot of Harry's growth and discovery and how the rest of the books go.
Yes, and so last time we left off at the end of Goblet of Fire, where we had sort of the unraveling of the current age, the current state of, sort of tenuous peace, the unraveling of how Hogwarts and the government will be aligned, and the dawn of the new war. And I think book 5 really throws that into very stark contrast, because right away you're gonna see like a Harry who just has so much PTSD.
There's a lot to recover from.
Yeah, and like that's where you see, obviously, I mean, maybe this is a plot hole or I don't know, because Harry should be able to see the Thestrals on the way back.
I think it's more a processing
thing. It might be a
thing.
processing
I
thing.
think, like maybe there's too much shock and like he's not fully able to grasp the seriousness of what has happened, because it's pretty immediate that he leaves. I think it's like
within a week.
Yeah, less than that, I think. So I think it's very much like he hasn't fully grasped the situation. That's how I like to think about it. Agreed. And so that's probably why he doesn't see the Thestrals at the end of book 4, and then he goes
and he keeps having these nightmares about it when he gets back to the Dursleys. And I think that is really what, like, they say that your dreams are what solidify your day's events into long core memory. So I think that's part of what's happening here, of like he keeps having these nightmares over and over and over again. And I think that makes the short-term memory like solidify into a long-term memory, which kind of creates that effect of him being able to see the Thestrals when he goes back to school in book 5.
Yeah, and that's how I kind of have always thought about it, when we learn more about the Thestrals in terms of why he can only see them once he goes back. Yeah, so again, like I think it's more processing, more that he hasn't fully grasped the situation, but I think he gets... the summer's very challenging for him, because not only is he dealing with the trauma from the graveyard, but then there's also a huge sense of isolation, which is, I think, what he struggles with, and it makes it more difficult for him to, understand what's happening around him. And I can understand the level of frustration that he has, because he's not fully able to understand what's going on, and then is dealing with almost no responses from the Order or his friends, and it's also being 15, like feeling like continuing to feel that teen angst or whatever.
In a way, I actually think this summer is worse for him than the summer of Chamber of Secrets, because at least, like, of course, Chamber of Secrets summer is bad for Harry, because he's like, well, I thought I had these friends, and do they not even care about me, blah, blah, blah. But, like, that was Dobby's fault. So he understands and lets go of it. Yes, he understands and lets go of it pretty quick. But with this situation, this is very much, first of all...
It feels deliberate.
Yes. Well,
it is.
Yes, but what I was going to get at is, one, this is yes, he went through a traumatic situation at the end of Sorcerer's Stone. Nowhere near the same degree as what he went through in the graveyard, right? Like, yes,
Oh,
yes, there was
yeah.
the threat of Voldemort, and like he saved the wizarding world from the the whole Nicholas Flamel Sorcerer's Stone of it all, but Voldemort was still not back. Like that was the core message at the end of book one that Dumbledore told him is that, like if people keep standing up, like maybe he'll never come back, right? Like that there was like that inkling of hope at the end of book one versus at the end of book four, it's he's back. Like we
Right.
are, and he's back, and the government is not on our side here.
No, but you
We are
don't know
on
that until later, right?
no, we
Like,
know that. We know that because Fudge in the
oh, because he
hospital
has the
wing.
blowout. Yeah.
Yes, there's the parting of the ways chapter, right? Where
Right,
there's
right,
a
right.
very clear delineation of Dumbledore says, go to the
Yeah, but
werewolves, go to the giants. You need to
I
make
know, but I don't
allies
think that's really like, it doesn't really, you don't really feel the gravity of it until you get
through
through the
book five.
year.
Yes,
Um,
but my point is that there's an inkling of hope at the end of year one in a way that you don't have the same feeling at the end of book four because we've just watched someone die before our eyes and the villain is actually back and the people who have the power are not doing anything to stop it. This becomes a bigger deal through book five, but I think the weight of all of that is what we're supposed to feel through Harry's eyes as we go through order.
yeah, yeah, that's fair. And again, like it's a very, you know, kind of traumatic start even to the summer,
PTSD.
right? Like,
We need therapists at Hogwarts.
yeah, so he's going through all of that, and then like a random Dementor attack happens. It's very interesting because, and again, you don't find out the truth about the Dementor attack till much later on. But again, like continues to add to the difficult summer that Harry has, and then immediately after, having, even though he saves Dudley, I think there's like that like immediate shock of like, oh, I'm expelled, I'm not expelled, like all of that. Like I think it just contributes to like the shitty summer that he's going to
Yeah.
have, right? And
Yeah.
so at least at the end of the day, like that gets him out of
Out of the fire into the fireplace? Or
well, no,
what
it
is
gets him out of the out of Privet Drive, and like he understands like he
out of the frying pan into the fire, that's what I meant.
well, yes, but I mean the rest of the summer I think he feels okay.
Yes. Yeah, he's still got some PTSD.
Yeah, but that's not gonna go away
That doesn't go away
because
all of book five. This is an overarching theme
yeah.
as we get through Porter is just that he is a ball of anger and depression and anxiety. He has better ways of coping with it other than telling Hedwig to attack people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she does it,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, she doesn't get the story either, so it's more like that constant blind loyalty that she has, which is what makes her.
There were many deaths that annoyed me. That annoyed me, that made me sad. Hedwig was up there.
I don't know. I actually thought that like her death made sense.
No, her death upset me.
Yeah.
It made sense, but like I can rationalize Dobby. I can very easily rationalize Dumbledore and Sirius because
Yeah.
if they're not off the chessboard, Voldemort doesn't make the hit. But like Fred,
Fred is the
I
one
have
that
never gotten
I will-
over, and
I-
Hedwig, I have never gotten over.
I got
Dobby-
Hedwig makes sense to me.
No, Dobby, I think you have to. It's upsetting, but I think you have to have Dobby to spur him into. And we're going to talk about this obviously later, but you need Dobby to
Yeah,
catapult him.
but that's
through
why
that
Hedwig
grief.
makes sense too. And anyways, I think we're jumping around, so let's just focus on like what the fifth book teaches him and like how more of his personality comes through. Like again, I think it's important for him to get through that isolation, find like his people again at the end, towards the end of the summer, even though he has to go to the trial. Like I think it's he's not he feels less isolated, at least for a portion of the summer. And then again, like I think what's weighing on him the rest of the summer is more just, am I going to get expelled? Like being able to, tell his side of the story. And then I think that's when he kind of again realizes that how much the ministry all of a sudden detests him, right? Like because Fudge has an opinion, and like usually Fudge has been very nice to him up until whatever
Fudge
that
sucks.
Yeah, but like he's always been nice to Harry for the most part until the like
Poor uncle.
that weird spat that they had at the end of book 4. So anyway, so like I think that's when he first starts to realize that like things are off. And then I looking at what they have been publishing about him and Dumbledore in the Daily Prophet. So I think it's again like builds into that like theme of isolation and like cutting him off from the rest of the wizarding world. And I think it's like what he experiences in book 2, where everyone thinks he's the bad guy, into a bigger deal because now the whole wizarding world thinks of him like that. So it's interesting. Like it's just the same, but like on a larger scale.
Right. Yeah. And I think that you've got like that element of it, but you've also got the element of like his friendships being the thing that he should be able to count on the most, right? Because
Right.
like even when the Dementors attack, he tries like 2 or 3 times to cast the Patronus. It doesn't work. And then the one thing that does work is seeing like Ron's and Hermione's faces in his mind, and the idea that he's never gonna see them or talk to them or like live life with them. And it goes back to that like the strength of the friendship that the 3 of them have, and the power of love that connects not just Harry with the 2 of them, but just Harry's superpower in general is the fact that he can care about the people that he loves. And then he gets to Grimmauld Place, and then we have this moment, this rare moment of insecurity from Harry when, after, obviously you just mentioned the trial and the stress that brings on him, but after all of that, he's like forgotten about the fact that like, oh right, like life and school after this trial still exists. And he has this moment of like, well, shouldn't I have gotten the precept? Well, like why did, like, he's never come second to Ron, right? And I think that's a bit of a reality check for him.
Yeah, but he checks himself pretty quickly.
And
I think.
and I think that is a very mature reaction that he has, because to be honest, like thinking back when I was 15, I don't know that I would be that mature within like 30 seconds to be like, oh, like that was not a nice thing to think about. My own best friend who has embraced me into his family and just really treated me so well.
Yeah. Yeah, but he like I said, like I think he checks himself pretty quickly, and I think it's good for him to have that awareness. And like I think it again goes back to show the strength of their friendship. And so I think, going into the school year, I think it's good for him to have that, like, to feel a little bit more normal compared to how he would have felt at the beginning of the summer. And then, I think there's so many more trials that he has to go through in the year. Like, I think it's it's interesting.
Yeah, and like right off the bat, right, where you get to school, you see the test. We were sort of alluding to it earlier, but like he's like, what are these things? They're like weird. It's like it's everything that's supposed to be normal about Hogwarts is not normal right now. Like
he feels off. The festivals are there. The vibes are off.
Yeah, like Hagrid's not there. All of a sudden, we've got these weird bat, reptile, horse things.
Yeah.
and like
Umbridge is
Umbridge
there.
is there. She's interrupting Dumbledore's speech.
Everything feels off.
It's
Even the
like,
Sorting Hat song feels off. So like
yeah.
I think it's like a big thing for him because like Hogwarts doesn't feel normal or
Yeah, like
like
he's been
a
dreaming of
safe
this for
place.
2 months of
Yeah.
like, please get me out of this hellhole and like bring me back around the people that know me and love
Yeah.
me and understand me, and all of it is off. And
Yeah.
like, even there's this great line, and I don't know if it's in this book or a later book, but it's something to the effect of like jarring notes in a familiar song, right? And I think that's what he is feeling this entire way back to Hogwarts of like, this is supposed to be the thing that like makes me feel at home, and none of it is going the way that it should. And like my roommate who's my friend, and like we went to the
Quidditch,
Quidditch
World Cup.
Cup together, and I met his mom, and like we all had a great time, and like he's not on my side, and if he's not on my side, what does that mean about everything else?
Yeah.
And I think that just snowballs.
Yeah.
Harry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like that's to your point. Like I think like the constant anger is always there because, you know, in the first class that he has for Umbridge, he snaps and basically starts making everything much worse than it needs to be. But again, like that's how he is, and like I think that's just his like Gryffindor / personality shining
Slash
through. Like
PTSD.
yeah, but like he's never gonna back down from what he thinks or what he believes in, right? Like despite the fact that it's gonna land him in detention, which is, you know, like pretty barbaric detention at that. So like it takes
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I think it takes it like it's how he is, and he's gonna continue to battle that person throughout the year.
But you know what, the one good thing that does come out of that detention is there's a very sweet bonding moment with him and Ron.
Yeah.
Like
When
like
they're
whatever,
when he
like
catches
detention
him with
3
the
or 4, right?
Quidditch
Yeah, and like
trials.
clearly Ron is a little self-conscious. He doesn't want to
Yeah.
talk about the fact that he's trying out, and Harry doesn't want to talk about the fact that his quote unquote lines are not just lines.
Yeah.
And they have this very nice like broy,
like, well, he had just
he
been
was so honest
with-
with me.
yeah.
I just like, I should be honest with him kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a really nice moment of friendship that they have, because it's like, yeah, like obviously Ron doesn't want to talk to Harry about who is the youngest Quidditch member of a team in a century. Obviously he doesn't want to tell his best friend / half brother / half potential teammate about the fact that maybe he wants to try out. And Harry is obviously like, well, this guy just beat me out for prefect. I've been in detention all, like obviously there's like,
I don't think it's that.
No, I just mean that there's reasons that either of them could be upset with each other, but there's none of that. It's just both of them are just feeling so strongly for each other's situation, and I think that's such a strong moment for their friendship.
Yeah, I think so. But again, like I think the highlight of this book.
Side note, I think Ron is the one who told Hermione about the detention and what was going on, because you never hear that Harry told Hermione what Umbridge was putting him through.
Oh,
All of a
I
sudden,
just assumed.
you just assumed Harry told her.
No, I just assumed that Ron.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. Is that like there's all these like missed moments. Again, because we're over Harry's shoulder, you don't see like the direct communication between
Yeah,
Ron
because she
and
just
Hermione.
one day shows up
Yeah,
with the
one day
Murtlap.
she just shows up with the Murtlap, and it's literally, it's like detention night 3 is when Ron and Harry talk, and
Yeah,
night
and then
4,
it's like the next night.
yes, and
They're
she's like,
both
"Here."
waiting for him or
Yes.
something like that.
And Harry damn well did not tell her.
No, Harry didn't tell her, but that's the same night she brings up the
The
DA.
DA, which is
So-
week 1 of term. Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, maybe week 2.
Maybe week 2 because they don't have detention.
But
till
it's
he doesn't
early
have-
in September.
Yeah. So like they start formulating the plan pretty early
Well,
because
Hermione starts.
because we because she's already read the book or whatever, and then she's like, oh, how are we gonna pass anyway? So that's an aside. But yeah, so like that's like the biggest thread through that's the other big thread through the book, is that like Harry being able to understand how good he is as a teacher, and being able to show that like the true power of defense
Yeah.
against the dark arts is going to be not just you being good at it, but being able to share your knowledge with everybody, and like the whole, like his whole class or whatever is basically going to learn all of these things that are going to take them outside of school, and like how that movement can be bigger than even order was. Because like even
Molly will say that, of like, or Molly and Ginny have that.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, it's a children's gang. And it's like, it's not. Like, we're the ones who defended the prophecy.
Yeah.
Like, we're the ones who are like at the lightning struck tower and like, like saving the school. And again, for the next 3 books, they're a constant presence. And so being able to share the knowledge more widely is a big way that like they're able to finally overcome what they need to overcome.
Yeah. And I think like here, the thing about Harry is that like he is objectively good at DADA, right? Like amongst the trio, he's the only one that gets an O. Not even Hermione gets an O in their owl. But he really has to be like pushed and shoved over the cliff to like take that leadership mantle.
Yeah,
and
but
I think,
that's not because of he's not good at it.
no, I'm saying that I'm saying it more in a way of like Dumbledore calls back to it. I think it might be in the King's Cross chapter.
Yeah, the
because he says like
comment.
Yeah, that leadership comment. He basically says like it's like the people that have found themselves most suitable to leadership have been the ones that like didn't want to take it on, but like were like the mantle was thrust upon them and found that they wore it well. And I think that fits Harry to a T, because he's like, I'm willing. He does not want to teach anybody, but then he's like, I'll teach you and Hermione. And then he's like, well, I don't think anybody else is gonna want to learn from me. But then he does.
Yeah.
And like, there's growing pains, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Like he takes on that leadership mantle quite well.
Yeah, and I think that's a big theme of like where you see his growth, and like how he's able to like learn more about his leadership skills and things. And then the other big development for Harry is obviously being able to see through the connection with Voldemort and how it gets stronger, and then how like he has a very hard lesson to learn there as well, is that like curiosity kind of gets the better of him, right? Like he thinks he has the upper hand, but he does not. Like at first I think he does, because I don't think Voldemort recognizes it, but then like later when Voldemort does figure it out, then it's very easy for him to manipulate the situation, because
Voldemort understands. I think Voldemort understands Harry in a very deep way, but then he closes off that gate. Versus at first, Harry does not understand Voldemort as well, but he leaves the gate open, and I think that builds the connection. So I think it's like a mirror, like a character foil in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like I think that's a lesson he has to learn, is that like it obviously goes really poorly for him.
Oof.
But I think it's a moment that like he has to understand that like the connection is there, but like how quickly he was able to be manipulated by that connection and how poorly it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that hero complex that we were talking about last episode, right?
And he knows, like, he feels like he's in the right because, he was right about Mr. Weasley, and so he thinks he's right about Sirius. But obviously, it doesn't go that way.
No, it does not go that way at all.
And I think that, like, that's the second, like, that's obviously, like, a really big moment for him
Yeah.
too, like a turning point, and like again, but to your point, like he is not going to be able, like the story doesn't advance if Sirius doesn't die.
Yeah.
Because like Harry has to recognize that, like, you know,
Your protectors are not going to be there
Yeah.
forever. You cannot
yeah.
live under the umbrella of
Yeah.
your
But it's more
parents, quote unquote.
but it's more
forever.
difficult because like at least like when he loses his parents, he didn't really know them.
Yes.
I think I think losing Sirius is like the first time he genuinely
Yeah.
feels another,
Even
like,
Cedric is not the same because Cedric is a peer. Sirius is like
A parent.
brother / dad figure.
and like for him it's very like obviously like he has nobody, and then he feels like, I think that it's more difficult because he feels like he's obviously being orphaned again. And then that's where like his anger to Dumbledore comes from. And I think the only thing that ultimately like calms him down is like understanding the truth. But at the end of the day, like it again,
Doesn't
like
help.
it doesn't help, but it also didn't need to be that way. And so like him feeling frustrated with Dumbledore, and then like some of it comes out in book 7 when he's like, I'm so like, he always asked me to trust him blindly, and like look where
Oh,
it's read me,
yeah.
like everyone. And so I think that like that wound of like
Never
Dumbledore's
fully heals.
betrayal,
Doesn't
I don't
scab
think
properly.
it like fully heals, because he's like, well, if I'd found out the secret, maybe like Sirius wouldn't have died the way he did. But yeah, it's a big
Oh, that's an interesting topic, and we can dive into that specifically later. I have
Or
many
what if
thoughts.
series.
Yes, I have many thoughts on that, but I wanted to go back towards something you were saying earlier about just before, like, obviously the undercurrent through this book is the Harry Dumbledore relationship is not where we are used to it being, because like he's not looking at it, like he's there, he's showing up, he's like solving the problems, but like Harry is not used to Dumbledore being this cold and aloof as he's being in order. And we're gonna talk about this later in an episode about Dumbledore, but like he has his reasons, but that doesn't, if you're on the receiving end of it, you don't feel any
But it's
better
also a
about
dumb
that.
reason.
It's
like,
a dumb reason.
Like what I don't understand, like okay, and like Dumbledore tries to explain it, and like okay, fine, for plot reasons, fine, but like
it's for plot.
You like, I get that like Harry has been through a lot at the end of book 4 or like year 4, but like
You could have just told him at that point. You've already ripped the Band-Aid off. Rip it all the way off.
you're gonna tell him in another year after he goes through yet another tragedy. Like Sirius's
Yeah.
death is also like traumatic for him, but like
If you tell him when Voldemort is resurrected, at least he's like, okay.
Prepared.
Yes, he's like, okay, this, and this. He's got A, B, C, D. It all makes sense.
and like yeah.
And okay, 14 and 15-year-olds are all equally stupid.
And like
okay?
you are now, but now you're. It's almost like he's
He's
forced
gonna
to
be
tell
mad
him.
at you now.
He's almost forced to tell
He's not
him
gonna
after
trust you.
Sirius it's dead, because it's like, well, WTF? Like like
Yeah.
what is this prophecy? Like I have to like find out this secret.
Yeah, and it's to
like
Harry's
now
credit
he feels
that he overcomes it, but it could have gone very differently.
it's like yeah, like it's like all of this like this additional
nonsense.
it's additional trauma, because like now you're forced to tell him the truth after yet another tragedy that he has to go through, which could have been avoided.
Yeah.
And like and agree that like when Voldemort tries to possess him in the Ministry, you didn't know that one was possible, two that Harry could overcome it, two like maybe he could have just died. But anyway, so that for plot
All
reasons.
of it, yeah. And again, we're gonna get into this more in episode 5, I want to say. Anyways, we're gonna get into this more in our episode on Dumbledore specifically, but the other thing before we get into the attack on Mr. Weasley is you've got the entire year you have a few themes going on. One is the theme with Dumbledore, we just talked about it. The other is they're all 15. they're all like starting to date and like come into their own as adults. So you have this whole thing with Cho and whatnot. And okay, I never really liked Cho. Before pre-movies, okay? She's just kind of flat as a character. He's been in love with her since he was like 13. We've known about her, obviously, but like obviously they have that moment right before or
Honestly, she
Christmas.
sucks.
Well, yeah, she sucks and her friend sucks. They all suck. But in the movies, they portray her to be the sneak. But just to be clear, obviously, everyone listening will know that it was Margarita Edgecombe, who was the problem child, and she wears a balaclava. And again, don't make Hermione Granger mad.
Snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches. Anyways, so but like it's the first moment of love, connection, dating that Harry really has. Yeah, I agree. I roll my eyes too, but like you need to get her off the board.
Yeah.
So
whatever.
that you
She's
can
off
get
the
on
board.
to Ginny,
On
right?
police, she's terrible.
No,
She's
she sucks.
just boring.
She's just because you've got the emotional range of a teaspoon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then you get into
To me, book 6 is way more interesting for like the teenage drama because honestly, it's like just great. Like
It's so
the
good.
whole like Lavender Ron thing and like Harry being
so good.
oblivious to the fact that like Ron and Hermione
nice
are
skin.
a thing. Like it's just it's
more
great.
oblivious in the books. He's more oblivious in the movies. But anyways,
No, I think I think he's I don't know. I don't like how they did it in the movies, to be honest. I just felt like it was weird. Like there was not enough like
build up. Oh, you know what it is? You know what it is? I think you're missing one tiny little thing they left on the cutting room floor.
Ginny's personality.
Ginny's entire fucking personality. Oh my god.
It wasn't that.
Like the sixth, like anyways, like I actually really like the sixth book.
But then like I find that like there's so many weird things in the movie. Like why did they add that whole Christmas scene? Like what?
Okay, we're jumping around, but I will give you this moment as a rant.
I just don't understand
Because I
why.
too
Anyways, no, it's
agree.
fine. I'm gonna just jump into book 6 anyways. Like
Hold on. You can't just jump into book 6. We haven't talked about the Department of Mysteries. We haven't talked about owls. You can't just skip
but
forward.
like to me, like that's not like
We haven't talked about the interview with you, Rita. You took the interview.
yeah, okay, the interview is good, but because I think it's like Harry's chance to tell his side of the story and like actually fight back. But I don't think that like the owls or like the Department of Mysteries is like, to me it doesn't build on his personality. Like I think
it does.
the takeaway from the takeaway from the Department of Mysteries is like his guilt about losing Sirius. But he has always known that he can fight the dark arts because he has proven that over and over again, right? Like that to me is like he did it in book 3 when he fought the 100 Dementors. He escaped the Death Eaters again at the end of book 4, and then just like to me it's like just another notch on his belt for like, oh, I'm good at defense against the dark
I
arts.
don't think it's about the confidence of being good at ATA. I think it's about he takes his friends on a journey that he doesn't even want to take them. They all force themselves.
But that's always
him,
right?
Yes, but he's okay with Ron and Hermione being on that list because they've been there in the trenches with him since the jump.
I also just don't think that he would have.
Neville and Luna are not on that list.
Right,
And they
because I just
suck
but that's because like he's always gonna want to protect Ginny because like at this point like I feel like he
still views her as Ron's little sister.
yes
until
exactly
later on, yeah.
And then like to be honest like if
Neville's kind of a liability. He says it himself. Neville and Luna, I wouldn't have picked them.
yeah that's what I was gonna say is that like if I was going into battle I wouldn't pick Luna and Neville as my companions either. And like okay they do fine, but I mean I would I wouldn't pick them either.
I understand that, but that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is when they're there in the trenches, in the fight, it's he immediately has this like not survivor's guilt, more like he has this like hero complex thing of like, I came here to save Sirius, and now that's not the mission. And now all of a sudden, I have brought these people who don't know what they're signing up for into the thick of things, because Ron and Hermione, since 11 years old, have known we are, no matter what the case is, we are going into the fight assuming we are heading into facing Voldemort. Ginny, Neville, and Luna don't know what they are getting into to the same extent.
Yeah, but
Ginny, the most of them might, because she's lived with Sirius for that past summer, but the other two have no idea exactly what they're walking into.
Again, like,
and I think that like Harry has this tremendous feeling of feeling scared and feeling guilty of, if we don't all get out of this alive, I'm the one who has taken them down. And again, I think it goes back to his feeling of like forced upon leadership, and also like having to reconcile the fact that like this is a war at the end of the day. We are not all going to come out of it alive, as evidenced by the fact that Colin dies, Fred dies, Hedwig dies, that we were just talking about, right? Like, we are not all going to come out of this alive, but like, you're all doing this for my sake, quote unquote. And I think he always bears that guilt.
But he doesn't know that right now.
He doesn't know it yet, but I think that's just an innate part of his personality. And I don't think that, I think that it's more obvious after he hears what the prophecy is. But before that, he still has that feeling of like, something's wrong. I'm leading my friends into danger.
Yeah, but I don't ever think that he has the hubris of thinking these people are dying for me. Like, I think that like he even says it, I think it's in book 5 where he says, he's like, oh, like all of this, like everything points to Voldemort. Like at the end of the day, all this tragedy, all this trauma was, yeah. So it's like, it all came back to this one person who is causing this, you know, like just like all of these bad things. It stems from this one person. So I don't think he ever thinks it's because of him. I think he ultimately recognizes that like he's the one who's going to have to deal with it at the end. But I don't think it's about that. So to me, it's like, yeah, like there's guilt of like bringing his friends into this, but it's more about, to me, the personality building moment is like his anger with Dumbledore at the end, the guilt that he's feeling about like basically leading Sirius to his death. Like, I think that's the takeaway from the Department of Mysteries.
The mirror makes me so mad. And it makes me more mad in the movies than the books. All of it makes me mad. We're going to discuss later, but it's upsetting. But either way, again, whether it's your perspective or mine, all roads lead back to this gaping hole after Sirius's death of like, there is a world before, there is a world after, and there is the prophecy that splits.
But I think he knows, like, I think he's able to not get over Sirius's death.
He accepts it pretty well.
That's what I mean. Like, I think he's able to accept Sirius's death a lot better than he's able to accept Cedric's death. Because I think he feels guilty in both, but I think he recognizes that, like, I think once he understands the prophecy and like what it means for him to like have to be the quote unquote chosen one, I think he's able to accept Sirius's death more readily, because then he knows that like he can't sit on his hands and like just hope for the best. Whereas I don't think that he fully like he doesn't have the context to understand what it means to be the chosen one. Like, he doesn't know that at the end of book 4. So at the end of book 5, or at the end of like after he's able to,
he's always been a marked man.
Exactly. And so like he knows now that like his path is different and he's always going to have to, fight the good fight, so to speak. So to me, like, he's able to get through the grieving process of losing Sirius better. Like, I think he has less PTSD, or, like, after you've had so much PTSD, it's like
rolls off your shoulders at a certain point.
something like that. Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, I think that takes us into the summer, unless there's another double click you need to do into the end of book 5.
No, I think it just kind of leads us straight in.
Yeah. So to me, that's why I feel like when he's waiting for Dumbledore in the summer, by that time he's already accepted Sirius's death, because when they're going over to get Slughorn, he's very much like, well, I can't just sit around and like be mopey, which is very different.
Very emblematic of what he was doing in book 5 summer.
Yeah, like he was angry and mopey most of year 5, and so like after living through Sirius's death, I think his perspective changes. I think understanding the prophecy changes his perspective. So I think he's able to then take up more of the mantle, more so of being the chosen one, and like more fully accepts his destiny or whatever. And so I think going into book 6, I think he is able to work through that and, work through whatever trauma that he had from, like, once again, being that orphan, and just jump straight into what the mission is.
Yeah. Not fully, though, because, I mean, he has that moment with Dumbledore. Obviously, Dumbledore picks him up quite early in book 6.
Yeah.
And he takes him to Slughorn. And Slughorn sort of treats him like a collectible. And he has a real problem with that. And I think we were talking about this last week's episode about, like, why do people feel like they have a right to my story when I barely do? So I think there's a little bit of that with the Slughorn piece, and
but I think
Sirius is so raw still. He's willing to take it, but he doesn't like it.
And I think he knows he doesn't like Slughorn, but I think he knows that he's on a mission to let Slughorn collect him. Like, that becomes evident pretty quickly when him and Dumbledore are leaving and talking about it. Yeah, and like I think Dumbledore starts divulging a lot of things to him in this book, and even like as quickly as
the
shed and the spiders and things like that. So I think that's an important moment for Harry and Dumbledore, because like I think this year, like there's always been a deep relationship there, but this year is like I think when they're able to actually, get to know each other a little bit better or understand more of the secret sauce behind Harry and Voldemort. And I think understanding how much Dumbledore has actually done to protect him in the background, like I think that's something that like you don't fully, like he probably doesn't appreciate until much later when he finds out like how much Dumbledore's tried to prepare him for, because I think Dumbledore knows he's gonna die. It's like pretty soon.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing, right? Like there's 2 pieces that you just said that I want to tease apart. One, Dumbledore has been doing a lot for Harry in the background, and we don't know it as a book reader, and I'm very excited to see this from the show's perspective.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll show you more.
And I think they have to. But the other thing, too, is that, like, when Dumbledore picks him up in Half-Blood Prince, it's 2 weeks after end of term. So we're 2 weeks after he leaves.
Yeah, after before his birthday, basically.
And we know that Dumbledore we're going to talk about this a whole lot more. But we know that Dumbledore, when he leaves with the Umbridge fudge incident, he's like, I'm not going to jail. I'm not hiding out. I have a whole lot of stuff to do. And they're going to wish that they had put me in jail, essentially.
Yeah.
That entire, call it 6-8 weeks, Dumbledore, he's already on the Horcrux mission. He's already trying to figure stuff out. So between that fight between Voldemort and Dumbledore in the Ministry, And
I think he must have
2
been
weeks
doing it
later,
before too.
no,
though,
but what I'm
right?
saying is in that fortnight, in that
Yeah.
15-day span, is when he
Doubles
finds
down.
the gaunt shack, finds the ring,
Yeah.
puts it on, and that's when everything
Yeah, but I think he's been
goes.
collecting memories since before that, though.
Yes, he's
yeah.
been collecting memories, but that's when
He's actually,
the
like,
plot,
enacting it.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when
yeah.
the
That's
plot
fair.
of Half-Blood Prince kicks off.
Right.
Because when, let's
Yeah.
not forget, when Half-Blood Prince starts, it starts with Snape telling Narcissa and Bellatrix he has since sustained a very serious injury.
But that's like at the beginning of the summer. So that
exactly.
to me that means that
you've
like
got a 10-day window.
yeah, like right after Sirius
Yeah.
dies, basically.
Very, very shortly after. So
Yeah.
we have a very soft period of time
Right.
where Dumbledore's like, okay, here's the end of the road for me. I need to start mapping my emotions. The first step is Harry.
I don't think he was
we
planning
need to get
on.
saved.
I don't think he was planning his death at that
Yes,
time.
he
I think he
was.
was planning his death after the like if his arm hadn't been cursed, I don't know that he would be plotting his own death.
Yes, but I think
because-
what happens, it comes up in Snape's
Anyways, I
pensive
think
memory after the Gaunt Shack. He's like, when Snape wakes up Dumbledore, he says, "Let's talk about the plan that is waving around the Malfoy boy." And that's when Half-Blood Prince really kicks off.
Anyways, I think we're getting really sidetracked here. So to me, like I think the big themes for Harry in this book are obviously like being able to take up the mantle as the chosen one, like the teenage drama of it all. Like to me, this book is actually a good book because I think Harry's able to be a student and like an actual teenager for most of it. I think there's like that obsession he has with Draco and like
Well founded.
He was right. Like his instincts
Good
are always
instinct.
right. And then like there's a lot of like teenage like drama. So that to me for most of the book, I think he's able to actually just be a teenager, like be the captain of the Quidditch team, like be able to think about this girl that he likes, like a little
Like,
traumatized.
oh, like should I ask her
Yeah,
out?
like-
But she's dating this
always
guy
dating.
that I'm his roommate,
Yeah.
and then also like I'm best friends with her brother.
Yeah.
Like,
And then like the weirdness that he feels about like kind of being the third wheel, and so like he's always like, oh, like when he first
so
notices
good.
that, he's like, oh, like he's
she's got
gonna
nice skin.
and he's like trying to watch them more closely, is something different. And then like anyways, like obviously like the lavender situation. So to me, like this year, like I think he's actually able to experience a lot of like normal life
Yeah.
things because like it's not like anything really happens during the year. Like obviously there's like the mission that he has,
Yeah,
and he
with
knows
Dumbledore.
he knows he has to have that, and like it's exciting for him because he's learning a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, like this is a good year for him in that perspective, and he's like good at like potions all of a sudden, and like so there's all of that. Like
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting dynamic for it's a just different type of year for him.
The other really important thing I think that comes out of book 6 and like just that overarching theme that you were just talking about is obviously that he's got all these lessons with Dumbledore, right? And we can talk about the Felix Felices, all of that stuff later. But the big thing to me that comes out of those lessons is there's this moment of Harry and Dumbledore really getting at each other because Harry's like, oh, well, I've got to do this. And Dumbledore's like very upset. And he's like, got to? Like, yes, of course you've got to, but not because I'm telling you or because the prophecy's telling you, but because you as a person are never going to feel at rest in your bones unless you do this, because that's who you are in your soul.
Yeah.
Because Harry is, and then he has to like go into his own head and his own heart a little bit.
Yeah.
And Harry's like, you're right. Like, if I didn't know the prophecy and all I knew was the facts around me of like,
Yeah.
he killed my parents, he killed Sirius, he's causing all this destruction, he killed Neville's parents and all this other stuff. Like, if even if I didn't know the prophecy, I would want to be the one who killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless of whatever else, quote unquote, the fates, the like destiny, whatever had planned, I would want to be involved and I would want to do it. And I think there's that really good line of like, it was the difference between being dragged into the arena or walking into the fight with your head held high. And some people might not think that there was a difference, but I know, and my parents knew, and Dumbledore knows, and Sirius knows that that's the only thing that matters in the world is as a human, you have the volition to
Yeah.
like shape your own destiny. And I think is the pinnacle moment of Harry's development in Half-Blood Prince, because he's like, up until that point, he's like, I'm doing X because the prophecy says I have to. And then after that, he's like, screw the prophecy. The prophecy's gonna happen no matter what. I have my own control over what I choose to do. I can turn away. He's gonna keep doing what he wants. So either way, it's gonna happen. But I will never feel at rest until I choose to avenge these people.
Yeah, and I think it's like something that Dumbledore has been trying to instill in him since book one, because even in Philosophers, Dumbledore's like, it is our choices that make us who we are, not,
Not our abilities.
not our abilities, not where we come from, and like what anyone else might say. So I think it's definitely important.
Yeah. And like, I think Dumbledore is that kind of invisible guiding force for Harry. And we talked about it a little about like Hermione being the consciousness, but I think Dumbledore is overarching Hermione's voice as his consciousness.
Yeah, I
Until book 7, there's
I don't
rupture.
think Dumbledore's is conscience. I just think that he's like his guide
He's a Sherpa guide
to the fight against Voldemort. I don't think he's anything more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like to me, like other than like that, and like just I think it's an overall like quasi normal. There's a lot of like normality for Harry in this year as well because of everything else that happens, and like how there's like Voldemort's pretty quote unquote not quiet, but like it's less impactful day to day for him. And then obviously like the big climax is like the cave. And again, like his instincts are so
it's a big Dumbledore moment too.
Yeah, it's his instincts though are so on point, because he's like, I'm not gonna be here. Dumbledore's not gonna be here. I have a feeling something's gonna go wrong because Draco's up to something. Like I know it. Like he can't explain it.
Instincts.
Yeah, so his instincts are right.
Yeah.
And so like just
Lupin calls out to that later. His instincts are good and nearly always right.
Yeah, and so I think he being able to give the three people that he cares about, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, the Felix Felicis is probably what saves, like not saves their lives, but he's like, again, like call back to his instincts about how right he is all the time. He's like, I'm not going to need it. I'm going to be with Dumbledore. Like what else could happen?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like just, I think that's crazy. And then when they're at the cave, I think, I think it's just such an interesting scene. There's like so much stuff that happens. And like it's an interesting moment for his development because he's able to see like how much dark magic there actually is.
And also that your heroes are not infallible.
Yeah, like I think like understanding that
that's
like
the start of it,
how much pain Dumbledore is like having to go through, and like being like again, like I think there's that guilt on him. Like he's like, oh, I can't believe I have to I said I would do it, but like it's very difficult for me to watch my hero like poison himself and like be in the situation and like not be able to help. But like I think it's like again, for the greater good. Like, he doesn't fully have that like frame of reference, but he knows that like that's what they're working towards,
Yeah.
and ultimately it's, you know, to deal with this
Bigger threat.
yeah.
Yeah, and like he carries that guilt, right?
Yeah.
Of,
I think
like,
I think it's worse because like
it's much worse with
because he's like
Dumbledore.
all
He
of
spent
this
way
for
more
like
time
a
with
fake
Dumbledore.
Horcrux. Like, it's not even real. Like, we're not even any closer. And I just had to give like I just had like I
That was
sacrificed.
the king on the chessboard.
Yeah, like you sacrificed like this
Yeah,
you know,
my
someone
last and greatest protector is
gone, and so for like and for basically
why?
nothing, right? Like, you got nothing out of it. You didn't, you know, kill a part
Yeah.
of Voldemort's soul, like, so. But I think, again, like similar to Sirius, I think it only sharpens his resolve, is that like, this is what I need to do, this is what I'm meant to do, like this is just like yet another person that I have to now not avenge, but like another death that Voldemort has caused in my life, and someone that I need to go back and like
Yeah.
fight for, essentially.
Yeah, and like again, from like a plot perspective, of course, Dumbledore has to be off the board, right?
Yeah,
But
like
like from
if
a
he's on there, like
yeah, Voldemort will never ever succeed, never have a real shot at, you know, threatening the world if Dumbledore is still around. Again, the last and greatest of my protectors, right? Because again, I for plot reasons, I completely get it, but from a reader standpoint,
Yeah,
it hurts.
yeah, that one sucks.
Right? And especially like when you see the unraveling of the character in your own Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore, Miss
Yeah.
Rita.
Bangers, man.
I hope you
these
got a lot of money
bangers.
off of it. I
Yeah,
hope
I
I
got
got
my-
a lot of money off of it. I interviewed you on your
I got
press
my
tour.
gold teeth back.
Did you get your red nails back?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Mani
screw
putties
you.
all day.
Okay, well, I'm gonna charge it to you. Again, like the Dumbledore thing, we're gonna talk about separately, but like it's the fact that Harry has to go. You know what? Like there's nothing left on the chessboard now.
Yeah.
I'm the last person left. I'm the one who has to call the shots. I don't have all the information, but guess what? I'm 16. I have to say goodbye to the happiest thing I've ever known.
Yeah.
And Ginny's like, I hate
It's
this.
for some
but
noble
yeah,
reason, isn't it?
exactly. She's like, I hate this, but I know who you are as a person. I'm not going to stop you. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to get in the way of things.
Yeah.
And again, Ron and Hermione are like, we made this decision years ago.
Yeah. So he
And
knows that they're gonna go with him.
and like again, I think that book ends with like there was one last day of sunshine, whatever
Yeah.
left with Ron and Hermione, right? And that bridges us into Deathly Hallows, because I think the Deathly Hallows stay is the shortest stay that Harry ever spends at the Dursleys, because I mean, keep in mind, Half-Blood Prince
it was pretty
14
short.
days,
Yeah,
but
it
I
was pretty
think-
short.
I am pretty sure that Deathly Hallows is shorter than that.
I think it's just about the same. I don't know if it's shorter, but anyways, like I think it's pretty short.
Yeah. And like again, right I have thoughts about the magic and whatnot. I'll talk about that later because we have a whole separate session on the book
Like-
7.
Oh, you mean? Oh, okay.
Like the Battle of the Seven Potters and whatnot. I've got
I
many,
see, I
many
see.
thoughts.
Got it,
And
got
like the mechanics of it. But I'm going to save that for a later episode because today we're talking about Harry specifically.
Yeah.
And that pretty much takes us right into the Deathly Hallows, right? And we kind of get into the Battle of the Seven Potters and things really
it starts
kick
off pretty intense away.
Right away. And I mean, obviously you have the scene with the Dursleys where he's leaving and there's actually a really nice moment between Harry and Dudley.
Which they leave a lot on the cutting room floor of the movies for some reason. I don't understand why. I feel like there should have been I'm not saying Dudley deserves redemption, but like I think anyways, I'll rant about that separately,
Yes.
but it's just silly that
But I'm glad that they showed that scene in the books because I think, like Harry even says they had such minimal contact the previous year. He'd been there such short amount of time, but it's kind of nice to see that full circle moment almost of there is something beneath the hard, deadly exterior. And I'm glad we get that. Same with Malfoy later on. Of like, I'm glad you get a little bit of that. There is a change in the character arc because I think they're supposed to sort of mirror their parents' generation of like,
Yeah.
you know,
Kind of like
Draco.
a blind faith,
Yeah.
blind faith, and like I think like anyways, we can talk about that more. In the
Yeah,
Dudley
but I'm just glad they
episode, but
showed
yeah,
that.
agreed.
And then obviously like Hedwig is mad at him that entire time, and it's so sad because like the last moments of her life essentially are like this conflict with her and Harry because she just wants to be let out and she's like frustrated with him, but
Yeah.
their friendship is so important, I think.
Yeah. But I
and
think
she's-
like the fact that she dies right away is like yet another like
Loss of innocence point.
yeah, but also like kind of gives you exactly how the book is going to go. It's going to be very much like, you know, a lot of like moments where you're going to lose a bunch of people, and like as the reader and Harry, you're going to have to go through that loss in a very short amount of time.
Right. And then obviously his friends show up to help, and he's confused. He's like, why is everybody here? I thought we were doing it in a completely different way. And I have so many thoughts about this battle, and we're going to talk about it later, obviously. But he's like not willing to let anybody take on his appearance.
Yeah.
He's scared for their safety and stuff like that. But obviously he has to get over that fear or that reluctance pretty fast because he's the only underage one who can't do any magic yet, and everyone
Yeah.
else is willing to take the risk and
Exactly.
overpower him essentially. And then they leave and immediately bombarded, and you have that massive battle where Voldemort obviously thinks that he'll be with Kingsley or Moody or whatever, and pretty much immediately devolves into chaos. And then he realizes that Harry is actually with Hagrid. Because Harry refuses to use anything other than Expelliarmus on Stan.
Yeah.
Again, goes back to like that point of like goodness, but also like kind of stubbornness at a certain point. I think Lupin has a point in saying that,
Don't let it be your signature. or
yeah,
whatever.
and like also that like don't. Most people would expect you to fight back a little bit more than just a disarming spell, at least stun them. And Harry's like, you know what? No, because even if I stunned him, it would be the same
fine.
as
It's the same
murder.
thing as killing.
Yeah, like it's direct or indirect murder, but it's murder. And I think that goes to that point of like, again, Harry being the soul and understanding the nature of the soul in of itself.
Yeah,
because he would still wear that as guilt.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And then like the fact that it starts off with this big battle, the whole
The stakes are high.
the stakes are high, which is like something that you immediately feel like you immediately can put yourself in Harry's shoes because like he's kind of out in the open and like actually chasing Harry now.
Yeah, and then you get that moment with the golden spell, or the golden fire, I mean, where Voldemort is finally face to face with him, and we still don't really get a full. I mean, we do, but you don't.
It's not a good
It's not
answer.
a
I
great
still don't
answer
understand
because
exactly
we don't
what's
know what it
happening
is.
there.
We never see Voldemort use that spell, so it's not like we as the reader can pick back up on like, oh, like Harry doesn't know this spell, but we've seen Voldemort use it, and like
I'm
that.
not even convinced it's a real spell. It just feels like it's like a weird priori and cantatum-esque.
I don't know what. Yeah, and like we can talk about this more when we talk about Deathly Hallows, but it does go to show, and I think that shows Harry's frustration because people are like expecting that he has this great magic or
Yeah.
whatnot, and he's like,
I
again,
don't
back to
have that.
yeah, back to what he was feeling in book one. He's like, I don't feel like I've earned this awe that you're giving me because I don't know what it is. Like Dumbledore would know what it is, and like at the same time he's having this massive conflict because your lovely article has just come out and is like this 900-page book is like basically like
great. It's gonna be great.
basically like kind of shitting on his hero, right?
Yeah.
And like it's someone that he looked up to and trusted, and now there's this whole other part of him that he didn't know or feels betrayed by. So I think he's like on one hand he's mad at Dumbledore, but on the other hand he's like, Dumbledore would know the answer to why my wand did this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that loss, that's sort of like the first loss that he continues to feel. One of the first losses that he will continue to feel throughout the book. And then, you know, like as he gets to the Burrow, basically through like whatever port keys and things like that, I think even at the Burrow he knows he has to leave. And like his unwillingness to stay for
Even one extra day.
Is like indicative of like how much he knows he has to face over the coming years, because you don't know how long it's going to take for him to hunt down the Horcruxes and things like that.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he wants to again leave Ron and Hermione behind is just ridiculous, because
You would not survive a day.
exactly. And so I think just seeing his
Power of
struggle
friendship.
through that. Yeah, exactly. But seeing him struggle through that is interesting.
The other thing that, just to your point there, I mean, this happens sort of like after that moment that he has with Ginny after his birthday, and him and Ron sort of have a fight, and Harry's like, he all of a sudden could see her like on her wedding day marrying someone that he hated,
Yeah.
no, without a face, but like his future only had Voldemort, and he didn't know how long the road went with him and
Right,
Voldemort. But
exactly.
that was the end of the road, and he couldn't picture a life
After that, because he
'cause-
doesn't know what that, if there is an
exactly
even an after that.
exactly. So I think
Yeah.
that, like, again, and he's 17, right? Like, to have to bear the weight of all of that is
It's a lot.
It's a
Yeah,
lot
for
to
sure.
ask. But other than that, like, you know, the wedding is kind of that last sort of
Fun
peaceful moment, because pretty much right away,
You're thrust into
yeah,
like the not
Ministry
outcast,
falls.
like the, but basically you're
Yeah.
you're in anarchy pretty much right away, which is again like very
Yeah.
different to how the rest of the other books are structured, because you very much have like, here he goes to
Yeah.
school, something happens, and
there's a
then,
mystery to be solved, and there's
Yeah.
house points along the way, and
which is
yeah.
not at all what this book
No.
is, right? Like there's lots of like new magic, different characters, and like that are interacting with some of the parts of the story that we've only heard in pieces. So I think it's very different to the rest of the books for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that there's just this scale and like this vast unknown, right? Because like there's a line at one point when they're like doing their dumb camping thing, where Harry's like, this felt like a big gap in his magical education, where like he doesn't know how to like stop like a wound, or like he doesn't, I don't know why they don't use Accio on finding fish after they hear about the fish.
Yeah.
Another hole in the plot.
I don't know.
But for plot reasons, it must.
It must.
Or like just all these things of like they have no real guideposts, right? Like they know we have to find the Horcruxes, we have to kill the Horcruxes so that we can end Voldemort, but we don't know what half of them are. We don't know how to find them, and we're just a couple of teenagers trying to survive on like moss and mushrooms and berries.
Yeah.
And like the entire world is falling apart, and they're relying on us, and we don't feel like we have the tools to do anything properly.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, agreed. Like they prove that they don't have the tools. Like the whole fiasco at the Ministry when they get the first Horcrux, it's like they plan for so long, but at the same time I feel like it's not well thought out, and I think that
How did you plan for a month and not come up with one scenario wherein the three of you get separated?
yeah.
Not one scenario?
I don't know, Hermione, what are you doing, girl?
Come on, you're like, what?
Yeah, it's interesting, but I think that's part of the reason also why Harry feels so much guilt like before Ron leaves, right? Like it's almost like, oh, like I should have known better. This is not my fault. But
It is
like,
his
it's
crusade.
my responsibility. So I feel like I should have done a better job of like planning, thinking through every single thing, and like now we're stuck, you know, camping for most of the year. Like I think that just is stuff that builds.
Yeah.
And I know eventually leads to like where Ron leaves.
Actually, before we get into Ron leaving, I did want to circle back into Grimald Place because they're there for most of the summer before the
Yeah,
Ministry
about a
heist.
month.
And the reason I wanted to circle back to that is there's two kind of important moments
Yeah.
there that happen. One is Creature's Tale, and I
Yeah.
think that's so important to showcase Harry's growth because he hated this elf and he symbolized everything that like
well,
his
he felt
anger was
betrayed
serious,
by
right? Yeah.
him, right?
And
So-
like the fact that he's able to like overcome some of that anger or resentment or what have you towards Creature and realize that like you know what Dumbledore said of Creature is as much a what's the word I'm looking for here? As much, I guess, to be pitied as Dobby is, and it's you can't like if Dobby had been in the same situation, you don't know how he would have reacted necessarily, right? Because like he doesn't think in terms of what's good for the world and whose side
Yeah,
is
he
X
doesn't think
person
that.
on.
He only
just,
thinks
like
about,
this
like,
person was
this is
nice to me. I'm
I
going to be
think-
nice back.
Yeah, exactly. So
And I
think
think-
it's the same. And
Yeah. And I think hearing the story shows a lot for the growth. And like, I'm glad Creature survives by the end because like I think they develop a nice bond together. And then it kind of makes Grimald Place back into a home because it was a hideout. It was a place for the Order to be in Order of the Phoenix, but it was never homely. And now all of a sudden it feels like it is more homely.
Yeah. But again, like, obviously not somewhere they can hide
Yeah.
forever. I actually think that the story would have been fine if they had used that as HQ versus
I think
like
so too.
camping. Like, I don't understand why
You could have still had all those same fights. I mean, like to that, like Lupin
maybe
comes
not,
in.
Maybe not the one.
Well, you could have
get
had the
captured.
Deluminator.
What? Yeah, you could have.
No, because Ron wouldn't need the Deluminator. He knows exactly where to go.
Yeah. Well,
It's not exactly hard for him to
Right.
knock on the door again. He wouldn't need to go to Bill and Fleur. Like none of that would have needed to happen.
yeah. And you can't really get captured to go to Malfoy Manor. presumably.
Yeah, and then
Anyways, I think there's a different way they could have done it, but
Agreed.
it's not.
But I like that Creature moment, and the other big one is the fight he has with Lupin, because you
Yeah.
never expect that. Like again, those loggerheads, but again for plot, you have to have him be completely isolated from all the adults because without that, like the adults run the show, and Harry has to be the one making the calls. But
Yeah.
again, it's a big deal because he's like, no, my dad would never want you to abandon his kid for the sake of
Yeah.
abandon your kid, pardon me, for the sake of helping his kid.
Yeah.
No, he died.
To
save
I
us.
understand that. Like, it's very.
Like you had the time, and like obviously Lupin does die at the end, when Teddy's like a week old or so. So sad, but full circle.
Yeah, there's many full circles.
That's what I like about Deathly Hallows. It's one of those few books that really ties together all the loose ends quite well.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could find some that it doesn't. But yeah, and then yes, sorry, we were talking about camping and Ron being splinged and
Yeah, like there's a lot of that, and like I think the story moves quite slowly. I think like there's stuff that happens, but like it's not like you're not really like a lot of the times I feel like the plot's not moving forward.
yeah, because Harry doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, so I think
I mean, Ron's right about that.
yeah, but I mean I also think that like Harry has given them all the information that he has. So
Yeah.
like, to say that like he doesn't know what he's doing is like sure, but like neither do they. It's not like there's a
Handbook
there-
on how to
y-
kill.
Yeah, there's no plan like there's no like mapped out plan to say like oh this is what we need to these are the things that we need to do, this is where we need to
Yeah.
go. There's no roadmap essentially is what I'm saying.
No, agreed. But there is a lot of that like importance of the friendships and like that being the core, I think, because like throughout all of it, like even after Ron leaves, he's so convinced that Hermione's gonna leave too.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think Hermione and Harry have really ever had issues that are
No, I don't think they
because
ever
of that.
fight. I think
it's usually
more
been
just-
tangential because of Ron.
Yeah, like the only time he really gets mad at her is like the firebolt, but like
Yeah, but
I assume that he would get over it. Or,
Yeah.
like he wouldn't be as pissed if Ron wasn't already pissed off.
Agreed. But the other thing that kind of leads us to is Christmas time, because there's some really big moments there at Godric's Hollow.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first time he's gotten to visit his parents' graveyard, and I think
Yeah.
this is like one of 2 times that we see Harry cry. So
Yeah.
obviously a really big emotional moment. You have fake Bathilda and Nagini, and the breaking of the Holly wand is
I
so
think that's a
symbolic.
big one because then like Hermione feels like really, really bad, and then he truly feels like, how am I gonna beat this?
Yeah, because
How
he
am I
doesn't
gonna win this fight? I don't even have a weapon anymore.
not just a weapon, but like this weapon
'cause, like,
particularly.
it's like the thing that protected him from Voldemort
Yeah.
because of the twin cores and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that's like I can see how he would feel like, okay, even if I have to face this person now, like it's
even harder than it would have been
harder.
before.
Like how does this work out now?
And it's an interesting there's some interesting symbolism there, because the wand breaks, but like his connection, like his mind connection to Voldemort is still as strong. But then later on in the book, when Harry becomes super obsessed with the Hallows, that's when that mental connection breaks, and then like you have both the wand is not there, the mind, like the being able to visit Voldemort's thoughts is also not there, and that's when Harry starts feeling really getting a little bit more unglued, because like those things that
Were defined his identity for such a long
and
time.
also like those 2 things were really 2 secret weapons that he had in his corner that he didn't value enough until they were gone, right?
Yeah.
After both of those are gone, he's like, oh no, like these were like 2 things that I had in my back pocket that were really like helping me through this journey, and now all of a sudden they're gone and I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore. So like understanding those parts of magic, I think, matter a lot.
Yeah, and I think like that book ultimately is what like the read up book is ultimately what makes him start obsessing over the Hallows. And again, like coming back to like the book that Hermione has, and like
The Beetle, the Bard.
the beetle and the bard, because that's where he first notices the symbol, and then he notices it in the
letter.
and then it's in, and so like
on the gravestone.
I don't know, like I think you can sense a lot of desperation in Harry's trying to connect different dots, but again, like to a certain extent his instincts are right? He's like, yeah, Dumbledore wanted him to find out those things, but it was never like a Hallows versus Horcrux.
Yeah, which is what he was thinking, because he
Yeah.
has that internal debate of like,
Right.
is this what I'm supposed to do?
But like, so I think that like he's not 100% right there, but it's also like his instincts are right in that Dumbledore did want him to find that, just didn't want to give him the answer because of that.
It's a quest, capital Q. No, but also I think it goes back to like Harry is able to understand and accept different kinds of magics that might not be learned out of a textbook, and Hermione is
not like
incapable
that.
of doing that, right? Like she can accept the fact that there's magic but not accept divination, or like versus Harry is like, okay, well, I'm in this world anyways, so sure, why wouldn't there be a rock that I can turn over 3 times in my hand and see the ghosts of my parents? I mean, I saw it before in the graveyard where there was something similar. Like
it's
he's
also-
willing to
and she's-
believe in and have the instinct to understand that.
Interesting that her perspective doesn't change even after going to the Department of Mysteries.
Yeah.
Because like that's where the time turners are, which you've used, but then you're not willing to believe that like
The veil was real. Like you saw the body go in from one end and not out from the other.
So it's just so
Weird.
interesting that like she doesn't.
She's
like-
more rigid versus Harry is more like, you know what? This feels weird, but intuitively,
thing is
I
weird.
think like my internal compass tells me to like have faith in this. And I think like that, I think ultimately, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but like that intuition and understanding of magic is what allows him to become a master of death. But before we get to that, I also really wanted to talk about the scene at Malfoy Manor, because there's a lot that happens like there and at Shell Cottage before like Gringotts and the Battle of Hogwarts, and like that whole scene. Like you've got the Potter Watch and Harry's like so obsessed and he's like, I figured out the Hallows, and like it's in the ring, and I have to kill it, and I don't know how to get there, and that's what Voldemort is after. He's after the Elder Wand, and like all those pieces click into place right at once. And then they get dragged off to Malfoy Manor, and we're gonna talk about this later when we talk about Ron and Hermione. But again, like very strong moment for the three of them, but Harry himself is just so desperate. He's like pulling out all of these things from his pouch that Hagrid gave him, and he's like asking anybody and anything for help, and luckily somehow Aberforth is looking at the mirror and sends Dobby to help, right? But then when you've got Peter coming down the stairs,
that's a really important moment.
Peter he has him dead to rights. Harry would die in an instant because that silver hand is choking him. Metal, and basically. He's like, you're really going to try to do this? I saved your life. I'm the reason you're here. And again, I don't think he knows what he's saying as he's saying it. I think he's kind of doing it to like
just saying
things
are just coming
but
out.
But I think at the back of his brain, he understands that magic and he remembers what Dumbledore told him of like,
you're sending Voldemort an ally or an agent that is in your
indebted
debt.
to you, and those like life debts cannot be so easily
and like even that one moment's hesitation is what turns it around.
And even at the very end, Harry's trying to stop
him.
Trying to stop the wand and stop that immovable magical force from killing Peter. And I don't think he fully understood what that meant when it happened in book 3, but afterwards, as he's washing his hands at Shell Cottage, he's like, you understood him. You understood Ron. What did you understand about me, Dumbledore? So I think like we're going to talk about this next week too. But so I think that's a really big moment. And then concurrently with that, when Dobby saves them.
Yeah, when finally he's able to take them out of that. That's a really big moment for Harry.
That's what jolts him out.
Of that Hallows obsession. Yeah. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, he knows that, like, I think he finally figures out that what his mission, not that he figures it out, but he finally is aligned and realizes that he's been distracted and understands how he can step in and out of Voldemort's mind. And it's not, and again, like, going back to the whole Dumbledore thing, like, he feels grief, but he's like, I guess Dumbledore would have called it love because that's how Harry felt about Dobby and like being able to be, and it's the same kind of thing that happens when Voldemort tries to possess Harry in order because all he can think about is like,
I'll be with Sirius and all these people that I love.
And so, but again, it's more like it's grief or pain technically, but then it's not like, but how Dumbledore interprets it is what he has been trying to emulate in Harry since the beginning.
It's like an Inside Out, right? It's not just like the globe is not just a sadness globe. There's a globe is like a sadness and exactly. So it's like you can, it's not, it wouldn't just be like blue. It would be like blue and pink or whatever. Well, I guess pink was embarrassment in Inside Out too. But regardless, oh yeah, you got to get on that if you're ready to ugly cry for 90 minutes. But yeah, and I get that, and he never masters occlumency, but again, his superpower comes back to being able to love. Big deal. But that's what's finally going to block out all of these thoughts and this obsession. And then, like, again, right after that, the visions become crystal clear again because he's sort of out of this haze of like chasing the Hallows.
Something that wasn't part of his like true mission. At the moment.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't even talk about, he had obviously at the Malfoy Manor, he overpowers Draco. I can't believe I forgot to mention that, but that is what changes the tide eventually at the end, but nobody knows about this right now when it happens. But obviously that's such
I still don't fully understand that because
they need to visualize that a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, but it's not like, okay, like he doesn't steal the Elder Wand out of his hand. He steals Draco's wand out of his hand. So if like I could even get my head around like, okay, so now Draco's like the black.
No, not the Blackthorn. The Blackthorn is Snatcher's wand that Ron brings him.
Okay.
Draco's wand is different.
Anyways, like I can understand how like that becomes his, but like how does a different wand that's
I think
not
it's
even
like
around?
no, I think it's like any wand that belongs to you switches powers.
So that doesn't make any sense.
It's like there's a math concept about this or physics concept about this and I'm blanking on it. But I think that's what it means is that like anything in any wand that would have owed its allegiance to Draco will now switch allegiances to Harry.
Okay.
It's a very movie
Anyways,
business. Okay,
it's
even those who study wand lore for eons don't fully understand.
That's fair.
Like that's what Ollivander says. But yeah, so then they have that conversation at Shell Cottage, and like he's like, now is the time to decide. Like Hallows or Horcruxes, and he makes the right decision. And ultimately, like the act of loving Dobby enough to do things the proper way and dig the grave by hand, that's what sells Griphook on.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, you're a strange wizard.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Exactly. And then eventually, obviously, they plan and plan and plan, and their plans are not
They're not great.
They're not great.
And they really don't plan for many contingencies.
Not at all. Like Griphook, you know exactly what the defenses would be.
Yeah, but even like the part where they're like, oh, like we're just gonna pretend to use Bellatrix's wand when
You know who stole it. You know they know. They don't know that we know that they know we know.
What?
And
Anyways,
it's just
it's fine.
their heists are not poor plans, poorly executed. Bad plans, poorly executed.
Heists are dumb. Yeah. Very different.
I would have missed the farmer's market. And that takes us right into the Battle of Hogwarts, right? Where they get to Hogsmeade Village, and Aberforth bails them out yet again, and Aberforth is like, get out of Dodge. There's nothing for you here. And now Harry's placed with this very weird thing of like, I've been hating on your brother for the last 8 months.
Yeah.
And been mad at him for lying to me and being mad at him for the greater good thing. And now I have to be the one to defend him to you. And I have to be the one to tell you that sometimes you have to think about the greater good. Like, again, shows a lot of growth.
Shows growth, but it's also like a very difficult situation that he's in. And like, I think he has to realize that like Dumbledore's never really led him astray for the most part, right? Like, I think there are things that that have been kept from him, but not to his detriment ever necessarily.
Yeah.
And then I think
and reliving that scene from the cave, I think, does a lot because he's never spoken about it.
Right.
So nobody knows the extent of how much that messed with.
And I think
Falbus.
I don't even think Harry understands what it is until he reads the book or is finally able to connect the dots, or sees Aberforth and is able to connect the dots for himself too. And then I think it's nice to see all the DA people.
It's nice to see Neville take the charge.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's really nice for Neville.
We're going to talk about that later.
Neville to be like sort of the leader and kind of like come into his own, like more and more, even since book 5. But like this is really a great moment for him to be the one who's like driving the force ahead.
And then you have that awkward moment with Ginny and Cho at the same time. And Harry's like, I need to go to Ravenclaw Tower and can someone show me? And Cho's like, yeah, I'll do it. And Ginny's like, no, Luna will. Won't you, Luna? She's like, I can trust Luna. Luna's got my back.
Yeah.
I don't trust Cho. It's just
the worst.
Yeah, it sucks. But again, that I think is also in Ravenclaw Tower. Again, why does he take off his cloak? He's bad at using the tools that he's got at his disposal. Terrible at it. But the moment where McGonagall comes in and she's like so proud of Harry and she's got his back, and like when is it...
Are we allowed to say his name now? It doesn't matter. I think he knows where I am.
No, but before that, Amicus and Electo. I don't... Which one's the girl one? Which one's the boy one? One of them spits in McGonagall's face,
that's when
and
he
that's
gets
the
really,
he gets
really
mad
pissed.
enough to use the Cruciatus Curse in full force
And then
on
he's like-
behalf of McGonagall, which he couldn't even do as
He's like,
Bellatrix.
I understand what Bellatrix means.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, you weren't mad enough when she killed your godfather. But again, it shows the level of like love, respect, and care that she has in his life.
Yeah.
Because she's been there for much longer than Sirius has.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, it's a great scene.
Yeah.
But then I think it's a really interesting moment how he's able to coax the diadem out of
Yeah.
the Grey Lady. Like, that's like a ghost that we've seen, but like not someone that we obsess over.
Yeah, Nick is like low-key offended. He's like,
don't you ghost stuff? I can help answer it.
First of all, last time I asked for ghost stuff help, you weren't much help.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah, he was.
Only wizards can come back.
Well, this
Oh,
person
this
is a
is
wizard.
perfect.
No, so anyway, it's a great moment for Harry because, like, obviously, like, Tom Riddle is, like, super charming and, like, that's how he gets things out of people. But I think it's Harry's goodness and the fact that he's trying to do things for the right reason is what convinces her in this situation. And then they're, like, finally down to
the wire.
2.
Well, he he figures out exactly where it is all on his own, right?
Because he's seen it
He's
before.
seen it. He's like, oh shoot! Like I'm the one who
moved it.
Who
I'm
moved
the
it.
one who touched it last.
Yeah, and he's like,
You know what would have been really cool if at that moment there would have been some kind, if they had put in the book like some kind of like, you know how like when he touches the diary or touches the locket,
there's
he,
like a
feels something.
Yeah.
And like if they had just put that as like a throwaway
Oh,
line,
yeah.
that would have been so perfect.
that would have been great. Maybe they'll do that on the show. I've got hopes.
Yeah,
I've
so
got
that would have
hopes.
been really cool.
That would have been so cool because we didn't even get that moment in the movie.
Yeah, the movie just really messes that whole thing. But
Yeah,
anyways.
terrible.
But yeah, so like the fact that like they're able to, you know, kind of
Yeah. You know what else? I wish getting rid of the cup hadn't been so off page. Because Hermione and Ron go down.
I think they'll fix it in the
the
show,
show.
because we're not gonna get just Harry's.
Yeah, again, we're over his shoulder.
So I think it's different. We can't do that in the books because
Yeah.
you're only seeing things. You're only
Yeah.
like seeing the story through Harry's perspective.
Yeah.
So, anyways, then I think when they finally destroy the diadem,
Yeah.
it's again like they only have 2 things left
Yeah.
now, right?
No, and again, like when they're doing that, like he has that fight with Malfoy.
Yeah.
And again, Harry saves his life.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, this would have been a terrible way to die, and I hate you, but you're not evil because I remember the night at the top of the tower, and I remember that you just looked like a scared teenager,
Yeah.
and you might have gone to the wrong side, but I don't think there's only evil inside of you.
And again, it's all and it's also like the same thing, like the purity of Harry's soul. Like
Yeah.
he's not gonna let anybody die.
Yeah, 'cause he
and
knows
a bit
that
of a
he would wear
redemption
that.
arc for Harry too, especially of the Sectum Sempra thing that
yeah.
happens in book 6. So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah. And then I guess you've got the battle and like all of his friends and people that he loves are like dying all around him. He's
Yeah.
like, is this even worth it? Isn't it better if I just go and surrender myself and like
Yeah.
maybe that'll be the best way to go because there's still Nagini
Yeah.
and she's with him all the time
Yeah.
and I don't even know how I'm gonna fight Voldemort himself.
Yeah. And then, but before he like figures that out, like the part with him and Snape is so important, right? Like I think just hearing Snape's side of the story, which we can deep dive in the Snape episode,
Yeah.
I think is very important, and like it's the last piece of the puzzle
Yeah.
that Harry needs to know before he
Yeah.
can decide, before
Yeah.
he can do what he needs to do.
And like going into the Pensieve and like learning all of this stuff and like understanding that like this last part he must do on his own. And obviously Dumbledore, he might not know, but he hopes or he has a shrewd guess and his shrewd guesses usually end up right or whatever.
Yeah.
But Harry can't know that there is even a possibility that
he's
he
gonna
might come back.
because otherwise
yeah.
you're not truly
otherwise
sacrificed.
yeah, otherwise he won't. So he has to think, I'm going to die and I have to be okay with it. And that whole scene with him like getting out from the Pensieve and like walking, it's masterfully written.
Yeah.
And it like every time I read it, it's like this is just it's paced so well. And then like that last moment where he tells Neville that like, no, don't worry, this is the part of the plan, but if you get a chance to kill the snake, do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't succeed in my mission because I was supposed to have gotten all of them done, but
I think that's when he realized that he doesn't have to do it alone.
exactly. And so he's like, well, like, you know what? There were 3 of us before, there will be 3 of us after. It might not be me, but me dying will allow Neville, who could have also been the other chosen one, to finish the mission. And like finally like accepting death and understanding what I open at the close even means, and being able to use the resurrection stone and feeling like I'm not calling them, they are calling me. I think I don't think Harry at the start of the book could have finished the mission the same way that all of this growth
because I think
has enabled him to do.
Grown a lot, and I think that he finally understands the true meaning of the Hallows, right? Like it's not about
Conquering death.
It's not about being master of death in the way that you think. It's more about, as Hermione already says, it's about accepting death, looking beyond death, and like
living beyond it,
understanding that like everyone's day comes, but how do you live a good life when you're here, but then also like how will people remember you when you're gone? Like what legacy do you leave behind, type of thing, versus like immortality.
The way that Voldemort wants.
And the Death Eaters think about it. So I think it's very interesting.
And then he's in like where Aragog's nest used to be, and obviously Hagrid's there, and again like that parallel to the start where Hagrid's the one who
saving him,
brings him from Godric's Hollow, and then Hagrid's the one who's going to bring him back to Hogwarts, which is his real home. And then obviously you get the Avada Kedavra, but he doesn't die. He goes to King's Cross Station and finally has so many of these questions answered that he's wanted to have answered for so long. And we'll talk about that separately as well. But then he chooses not to board the train and go on. He chooses to go back home, or to come back, I guess,
and
finish the fight.
Yeah.
And again, it's Narcissa who is called upon to check if he's alive or not. Because again, Voldemort doesn't understand these things and these pieces of magic that Harry so innately does. He doesn't understand the power of a mother's love. And so he understands in that moment, Narcissa doesn't care anymore. She just wants to know that her son is alive. And if she wants to come back as part of the winning party, fine. That allows me to get back and win the fight. And then Hagrid carries him back, and there's just that really heartbreaking scene where McGonagall's screaming and all of his friends are screaming.
Yeah.
And then Neville's the one who takes up the charge because Harry asked him to.
Yeah.
And finally kills the last Horcrux.
And then it's like, that's when Harry can
Pandemonium.
like pandemonium, but he can finally come, quote unquote, come back.
Jesus.
And there is a lot of Jesus imagery.
Yeah.
But that's when he can finally come back and actually,
Fight
the fight or have that last fight.
And that's when the centaurs finally get involved, because now the prophecy that was predicted in book 1, Mars is bright tonight, like Voldemort, Harry, Hagrid, all in the forest, like that moment that we thought was going to happen in book 1 has finally happened.
Come true. Harry does technically die.
But Ferenz does say that, like, we make observations and we don't know the time scale. It could be now, it could be in 100 years, but it will come to pass. Yeah. And that's their cue to finally get involved in the fight, because they're like, the things that were supposed to happen have happened. And now we know it's the moment to get involved and fight, and now we can win this fight, basically. And then obviously you have the villains and heroes got a monologue piece where they're like circling around each other. And then finally he's like, I'm not going to call you Voldemort anymore because you like that name means nothing. You are going to die a human mortal death at the end of this.
As you were meant to be, because I got them all. Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all. But again, he offers him the chance of redemption.
Yeah.
He's like, this is gonna hurt, but you can try, because the alternative is going to be so much worse for you, and you're gonna be stuck in this neither here nor there purgatory situation, and that is going to harm you way more. So I'm giving you the opportunity if you have the courage.
He's not, when they're in King's Cross, he's not able to like really perceive it how Harry perceives it.
Yeah. I don't think it's King's Cross to Voldemort. I think it's a completely different environment. So I don't think he's hearing or processing the same things that Harry is.
Yeah.
And so I think giving that again shows his like understanding of certain kinds of magic.
Right.
And then again, that final duel is him not trying to kill him
again. It's really just his forever spell, Expelliarmus.
And to think Snape is the one who taught him all those moons ago. Yeah. But again, it's just like he's trying to de-escalate, not escalate the fight.
And again, like that just shows that he is always true to his like character and
that innate goodness.
And like I think Dumbledore says it at some point, is that like there are so many bad things that have happened to him. It's understandable if he's like bitter or like kind of evil, but he doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Like, he just has like nothing but a pure soul, and he's able to like carry that through the whole story.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. Oh man, I got chills. I know we've really gone into depth on Harry himself, but I think it was warranted, because I think there's no way we could have talked about all of his character growth with just in one
I
episode.
think there'll be more to uncover as we do deeper dives into the books and things like that too.
Yeah, because I do think that we've kind of slated to circle back on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a bookend.
Yeah, I think so. That's it for this week's episode of the Witch Weekly editorial. Thanks for spending time with us, and we'll be back soon with more insights from the wondrous world of Harry Potter.
Keep twiddling those dials. See you next time.